I would now like to introduce the Reverend Wendy Miller-Olapade from Sanctuary Church in Medford, who will lead us in an exercise together.
I'm so honored and blessed when my colleagues have done such a beautiful job so far. I need to say a word before we do the exercise that we want to invite you to say some words to each other. But as a pastor and a parent, as a neighbor and a moral leader, as a white person of great privilege, I need to lift up as an act of confession that the entire events of last week and all of the conversation on CNN and Fox News and everything that's happened since, and so many other moments that we have experienced in our history as a nation, are systemic and communal expressions of white privilege and racism that continue to pervade our nature's spiritual ethos. Friends, if we only condemn the acts of this past weekend without condemning the roots of racism, which perpetuate discrimination in our American schools, in our justice system, in our businesses and healthcare systems, then we have failed to love our neighbor. If we believe, as our forefathers wrote into the Constitution, that justice is for all, then we must work for that justice, towards wholeness for all people. And we must work for it now, by standing with the oppressed, by speaking out against political and religious powers, and by courageously embodying a just world for all. We must be true solidarity partners with those who march in the streets. We must move from our comfort and our walk alongside those who seek to resist and agitate and inform and comfort. We must resist hatred and violence. We must also agitate ourselves in our comfortable suburban setting and our neighbors to acknowledge racism within and among us. We must inform ourselves and our neighbors what our sacred stories reveal to us of a just world for all. We must lament and grieve with those who are injured or murdered during violent confrontation with those who mean to harm. And we must comfort those who have been discriminated against with the transformative love of God for neighbor. But we must also see each other. The theme of our rally is a #ICU. It is both about seeing each other as whole human beings and about the fact that we need intensive care as it relates to racism today. As it relates to homophobia today. As it relates to anti-Semitism today. And the list goes on and on and on. We need intensive care. And we are only going to do that amongst ourselves. We need to deal with our history, with the history and the horror and the heritage that privileges white and wealthy over non-white and non-wealthy. That deserves it. Let me say that again. We need to deal with the history that privileges white and wealthy over non-white and non-wealthy. So I'm going to ask you to be engaged here for a minute, as I am wont to do, those of you who know me. We're going to enter a time that we're going to literally look at each other, and we better hurry because it's getting dark. I want you to take the hand of somebody else and form circles of 5 people and do it really quickly. Make a circle of 5.
Okay. Circle.
Try to choose people. Anybody, 5 people.
Come on.
That was 6.
Give me a person. Give me a person.
Take too long if y'all
There
do
you
more
go.
than 5. You rule breakers over there.
There we go.
God, I love rule breakers. All right, are you ready? All right, here we go. I want you to take a moment and look into the eyes of every single person in your circle and say, I see you.
I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you.
Okay, that was pretty beautiful. That was beautiful. You did it. You followed those instructions really well. Yes. I see you. Thank you. They're seeing me up here. Now I want us to enter into a moment of confession. This is a practice that comes from every tradition that there is, and it is where we need to be. So if you are able to confess, be with me in that spirit, and I'm going to put some words in your mouth, but let's be in it together. God of great courage and peace, grant us the strength needed to challenge the systems of racism so that we can clear a path for justice. We believe racism is present in our society, in our churches, and in our institutions, and throughout time has manifested itself in many forms and varying degrees. We know that racism is alive in our language and in our structures, and through our system works to deconstruct goodness and love. Racism exists, and it challenges the love that we want to cry. We cry peace knowing that we are the instruments of God's peace, and that such peace cannot exist without justice. And so, Compassionate One, help us to understand how this racism finds life in our hearts and in our cries. And in this time of tense anticipation, may we commit ourselves to be people of your way, people crying and creating justice, crying and creating equity, crying and creating peace for all in this wilderness of hatred. May it be so. And so we invite you in your circles to share with each other for 5 minutes. You've got 5 minutes, which is why you need 5 people in your circle. So if you have 10 people in your circle, you only get a half a minute each. 1 or 2 words. How do you feel right now? What do you hope for? And what are you going to do about this? How do you feel? What do you hope for? What are you going to do? 2 words each. How do you feel? What do you hope for? What are you going to do? Go.
I feel angry. I'm hopeful for real change in our society sooner rather than later. And I feel like I need to do more personally in my own community to make that happen.
I feel sad, tired, that I hope that this will be the opening of a dialogue. I'm not terribly optimistic, but and what I need to do, I need to get out of my bubble more.
How do you feel?
Is very
what do you hope for?
insular,
What are you going to do?
I need to know more people.
I'd say I probably feel mostly tired, and also a combination of sad as well as motivated and inspired. What I hope for is probably the most unlikely thing is this all goes away and resolved and never comes back again. What I think is more likely is that through some struggles that more people are able to come together like we are to make a difference and eradicate almost entirely all of this hate and suffering.
I feel tired.
What do you hope for?
I hope that this will all go away.
What are you gonna do? Are you gonna do anything? You don't know? It's okay.
I think a lot of us don't know.
I feel frustrated, and I feel hopeful that there was a purpose, that we needed to expose this going on in our community and bring out to light and let people know that this was not okay, that you can't be like this, and that it's not welcome here, and that all of this stuff going on this past 9 months was for a reason, and that we can make real change out of it. I'm going to have faith that we can, because otherwise I'm going to be frustrated and depressed and pissed, and that's not helpful.
Thank you guys for sharing.
Thank you.
It's helpful to hear how other people are feeling about it.
And you two will be shocked to hear this, but I have never met these two in my entire life.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Sarah, but
Emily.
Alicia.
Timmy. Christopher.
It's really nice to meet you guys.
They sometimes feel that I know everybody in Medford.
I'm new to Medford.
She stops and talks
Welcome
for
to
hours on
Medford.
end.
Yes, welcome. We're a good community. I'm glad to see this turnout on 24 hours notice, frankly.
and I'm glad they did something. You know, like there was a lot of towns had rallies last night, and a lot of people were like, well, "Where's Medford's?" But it was just hadn't gotten finished planning yet.
Yes. And there's a vigil. You saw that
30
too?
seconds. You got 30
So I have
seconds.
flyers for the vigil. I feel like we should give stacks of them to people to take elsewhere, because that's a the people who are here heard about it all the same way. Facebook. And so, wait, where am I? Oh, you know what? I handed them to my husband. So,
Yeah.
Well, if you see them,
but you should get a stack
I'm good
of,
at flyering.
because it's good to get them out to places where people who are not seeing the social media.
Yeah.
I was trying to live stream it to see if, and there are in fact Medford people watching it, Lambert and Ruth, and I can't see who else, so maybe
Ruth
I
is
don't
in
know.
the person we know from church.
Lambert? You know Lambert?
Wait, Lambert is in Calvin.
Oh, no, not him. Lambert is the assistant rector to Reverend Wendy, but he's a community minister, and so lots of people know him.
Okay, our time is up. Let's take one more word with each other. Let's say the words "bless you" to each other.
Bless you.
And I want to say a final close. If you join me in thanking our men and women from the police department who are here